Welcome to Entrepreneurs, Executives, and Eccentrics, a podcast dedicated to the stories, strategies, and secrets of remarkable individuals. Join us as we engage in enlightening conversations with intriguing entrepreneurs, accomplished executives, and fascinating eccentrics, exploring their journeys, triumphs, and unconventional wisdom that has shaped their success. Get ready to meet Ron Krudo, a master of turning businesses into high-value assets. His grow to exit strategy has revolutionized companies, transforming outdated operations into streamlined acquisition-ready powerhouses through strategic roll-ups and bold growth tactics.
Welcome, Ron. Tell me who you are and what you do.
How's it going? I'm Ron Krudo. I am in investment banking, mergers and acquisitions. I help business owners scale their companies to the point where they can exit with a real retirement and a real opportunity for their future.
Well, let's talk about that, right? So we had talked earlier, and I was telling you I had read the book Built to Sell, and I think that's one of like 5 or 6 type of books, right, that kind of help you sand that down. Can you kind of talk about a little bit what we're doing wrong as entrepreneurs? You know, why would we need your services? Believe me, I already know, but let's just kind of tell everybody why would we come to you to kind of help sand things down a little bit.
Absolutely. So I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs. My dad is an immigrant to the States. He's spent most of his life building businesses and growing them. But in every company, he was the hands-on operator. He was deeply involved in the business, owner-operators, they call them. And most of my clients are in that same bubble. They're middle market, maybe lower middle market companies, and they're looking to scale and one day exit their business. They've heard this, they've read the book, they've heard the concept, but they're so ingrained in the day-to-day. They can be a $40 million business, but they're there almost every day running it. And realistically, yes, there are people out there that'll buy that business. That person is going to want to be an operator. They're going to want to be someone who's running the company. That market size is very limited. If you really want to exit your business and get a huge value in your company, you want to build it in a way that you're not the day-to-day operator, that there are processes and systems in place that very clearly run your business, that you don't have to be checking in or changing the process on a regular basis. Saying, I know it all up here is not going to sell your company. And also looking at your financials. I think a lot of business owners, even at that level, when you're an owner operator, you know what's going on. So having financial statements and accounting that's up to date and proper budgeting and performas isn't on the forefront of your mind because you're already so in deep and ingrained. But if you take a step out of your business and you build things like that, it allows for someone else to come in and buy it. And when I talk about buying your business or exiting, think about it in this light. This is the largest asset you are creating in your life as a business owner. Your home gives you a huge value. Your car does not, and a lot of other things in your life definitely do not. Your business is the thing you're going to try to retire on. And so you want to build it in a way that someone's not going to just pay you 1 or 2 times or 3 times your bottom line, or EBITDA, as they call it, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. But you want to get them to give you 5, 6, sometimes even 10 or 15 times, depending on the industry, what your value is. And to do that, you got to build it to sell. And that's the whole concept. It's don't be there and be in it every single day. Build it in a way that someone else can buy it and run with it. I'm going to give you one last thing, Scott, just because I always think about this. I had my first boss that I ever had. I was in like nonprofit life for a little bit before this. And my boss told me, I want you to build a playbook that if you ever got hit by a bus, someone could walk in here and run the company or run your position all by themselves. A little intense, but it definitely taught me a lesson on having a good process and everything in place.
Yeah, so Built to Sell. One of the things, I guess, is like chapter 4 or 5 is the standard operating procedures, right? SOP. But you know, someone I've always wanted to ask someone in your line of business is, and I don't really know the answer, but I mean, I know a guy named Craig Sicanti over in Houston, Texas. He's a professor of entrepreneurship at Rice, and I asked him this: what is the difference between 2, 3x, and like 10x? I think it's IP, but you tell me what your thoughts are.
That's a very good question. Industry is probably one of the bigger ones. I will say that industry definitely affects the way your multiples are. If you're like in fintech or something like that, you tend to be on the higher end. Right. But I think intellectual property is crucial. Again, not being the owner operator that's there every single day is really important. The financial wherewithal, the mix of client base, if you got 1 or 2 major clients and that makes up 70% of your business, that's going to affect you heavily in the sale process. It sees it as high risk. Also, key employees. How connected are they to the business? If they have the flexibility to leave as soon as the transaction happens, that's going to be a bit of a concern for some people. Also, how you do your collections. If you're collecting properly and you're up to date on your payables, you don't have a huge debt stack on your company. While the debt doesn't affect them, they want to look at the way your cash flow and everything is being managed to make sure that it makes sense moving forward. That if they bought this company, they can see it in the future. And last but not least, something that's really interesting is, are you selling to a strategic or a financial buyer? Because that also affects you. If you're selling to private equity or if you're selling to someone else in the industry, the value, like someone in the industry, surprisingly enough, will actually pay a little bit more because they see a premium of growth compared to sometimes someone in the private equity side, unless they have like a mandate they have to meet. Now, I do like to point out that a lot of what we're talking about is organic. A lot of this is what we say organic are things that you can implement as an owner of a business. You can do it from day one, where you keep yourself out and you build those systems, or you can do it later and down the road when you're ready to sell a year or two out. You can start putting these things in place, hiring the right person and handing off the role. But there's also the inorganic aspect. If you can successfully go out there and buy a business or two and tuck it into your business or manage it in tandem with your company, where there's economies of scale, areas where you can reduce costs and expenses. By doing that, you're showing a strategic or a financial buyer that you have built a model that can be scaled in a rapid way, not just organically, but in a very rapid, quick way. You go from having, I don't know, let's say 5 million in revenue, $500,000 in EBITDA, to buying another $5 million company. And now you have a $10 million revenue company, and you did that all within a period of 6 months. That's very impressive and very attractive. And people will give you higher multiples for accomplishing that.
That's the first time I've heard that. So growth through acquisition. Well, almost like you're piling on your EBITDA through acquisition a little bit, or at least your income through acquisition. Now, okay, and when you say strategic, you mean someone who's like, you know what, I really need to grow this part of my business, but again, it's just turned around, right? And instead of growing it and hiring the people, I'll just go acquire a company who's already maybe in there. Or better yet, I'm buying their book of business, right?
Yeah.
And it boom, you instantly kind of grow. I don't think I've ever thought of it that way until just now.
You're breaking into the marketplace. I mean, a lot of large companies do this. We hear these stories all the time of like major corporations buying each other and acquiring and merging. The whole thing with, there's tons of corporations. I can name a bunch of them that have experienced this. But the idea on the middle market level, or even the small business level, like lower middle market, if you were looking to enter a new marketplace and you're based here in Florida, to go and build a whole organic system in another state is sometimes challenging. Like, you as the owner operator are there every day. How do you open another business in another division somewhere else? Well, if you don't want to send someone out or do it that way, you can also acquire a company in another market. Same thing goes for, there's strategic value. Like I love service-based businesses, home service-based business, blue collar companies. It's surprising how many of those have hit hundreds of millions of dollars just through these small groups of ownership. But a great example is like pest control and lawn care. Very complementary businesses. They're both servicing a home in some way. Both have reoccurring revenue. Clients are paying them monthly to continue the service. Maybe a lawn care business sees a potential. A customer of theirs has been asking about pest control recommendations, and they see an upside. Instead of going and building out a whole pest control system, you have a existing client base that you can sell the service to, and you have a model that can easily manage all the back office. Why not go and acquire a pest control company a little bit smaller than yours, take on their accounting, their back office functions, all that stuff into the one holding company, and then utilize your customer base to grow what they currently have and utilize their customer base to grow what you have, sell it to their customers. You have that cross sale opportunity. And that is, again, it's impressive. It shows that you have wherewithal to grow your company. And if you want to do like a phased exit, let's say, get multiples, you can sell like 30 to 40% of the company today to a certain partner, sell it at one multiple, and then immediately take that same percentage, combine the new companies that you have, acquire more businesses, and stick around with 20, 30% over time, or 60%, and sell again at a much higher multiple because now the business is significantly bigger.
Does that strategy have a name?
Well, we call it grow to exit. I know that there are a lot of others that kind of structure. It's called a phased buyout process. But the whole idea is that you're phasing your exits. You're doing an initial exit. What I like to do with a lot of our partners, if it's done right, is fix the internal, the organic, get the company at a place where it could get a really solid value and be considered a platform business. Then go buy one or two companies. put them into the business. Like I said, make that company the main and tuck in the other two.
Consolidate, right? Make the same accounting, same,
Exactly.
get rid of
Maybe
them.
you're
Yeah.
keeping them separate for like synergies purposes, whatever it is. But you have those three companies now coming together, consolidated balance sheets, consolidated P&Ls, all that good stuff. Then you get a private equity partner or a strategic partner to come in and purchase another minority position in the business, or maybe a majority, but leave you some equity. You go out there and now they're funding your future acquisitions. On the first two acquisitions, you probably use debt, maybe some of your own cash, maybe an earnout or a loan from the seller, like some unique financing structures. But then on this next phase, you're bringing in this new partner that's going to help fund those future acquisitions. So again, now you're a $30 million company. You bring in this partner who buys 40 to 60% of the company. You retain some equity. They give you the money to take you from that $40 million up to $100 million. And now you exit again with that 20%. The multiple on that 20% went from maybe 3 times the first time you sold it to now being 6 times the second time you sold it.
So I just looked it up. There's no book called Grow to Exit. Just so you're aware.
I mean, we've been talking about it. I'm in it. I like the feeling the energy on that grow to exit. And
Grow to Exit.
I think everyone's talking right now about the biggest wealth transition of our generation
Right.
that we've ever seen. And unfortunately, a lot of these owners don't have kids that want to take it. They haven't built everything perfectly for a very clean exit, but they're ready to go. This is something, and by the way, when they sell, they're probably going to only make enough to keep them for 5, 10 years because you only get a certain multiple on your bottom line of what you've been bringing in. So why not do this over the next 3 to 5 years? Why not grow to exit? Like scale yourself up. Buy some of those of your friends that want to retire a little sooner than you do. They want to get out sooner. You already know they're there. Let them exit, but you buy them and then exit it in a much higher, more phased manner that allows you to really grow.
So I'll wait a week or two before we put this out on live, but just so you know, growtoexit.com is available for about $2,000. Please go buy that. we'll push off on this going live just so it gives you some time to go negotiate that. But I love it. That's the thing. I always see the brand and like the ease of kind of taking in the name of things, subtitles, all this kind of stuff. But that is awesome. Okay, so there's also this concept of roll-ups, right? Which is kind of along the similar line, right? And we met with a PE company probably 7-8 months ago, and what they were doing is where they were buying, as an example, every dentist office that would listen. Mm-hmm. Right, especially if they own the building, especially if they did this, especially if they had all the things, right? And they were just going and eating those dentistries, building, kind of up. And then they were allowing the dentist, like this main founder, to kind of stick around and hire the next dentist, right? I'd never heard of that concept before. I mean, are you also in that kind of area where you roll up an entire type, 5 of the same, dentists, or 5, as your example, pest control and such? Right? Have you done that before?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We've worked with partners before in that space. And it's like you said, it's called a roll up. I have 2 friends. One's a dentist, one's a chiropractor. And my biggest joke with them, I hope they listen to this, is telling them to start rolling them up because it is the best way for somebody who's, a practitioner is a practitioner. They're going to build their business. They can be hands-on with their patients. But sooner or later, again, it gets to the point where how much value have you created within that business that you're able to exit? And so if you build it in that way, where you're just going to build it, you're the solo practitioner, maybe you have a couple of doctors under you, and then one day you're going to sell to private equity, they're not going to let you leave. They're going to hold on to you. No. I want you to work there. You're the business, at least for 3 to 5 years. Now you're an employee. You built this business to be your business owner. You want to sell it so you can retire, and you have to stick around. Now, if you're really, really solid and are open-minded to being a business owner, you transition that mindset from being practitioner to business owner. We start doing those roll-ups. And I encourage it all the time. This is now a strategic buyer. You own a chiropractor office. You are a dentist, excuse me. So you're buying dental practices or chiropractic offices or doctor's offices to roll into you different practices and specialties. Now, we've done it before with private equity firms, though. A lot of the times what they'll do, though, is they're trying, similar to what you're saying, the roll-up ideas. They want to buy the platform business to then roll up companies underneath it, tuck them in. So if you can create the first platform, you've now created significant more value for them. If you can be the first lawn care company that showed them that I have a solid brand, vision, process, my leadership team is ready to go, and I just bought a company and did it smooth, then they'll start rolling up under you. You'll be that roll-up partner.
Yeah, but I also modernized the scheduling and I automated the billing and I basically made this old archaic dirty, gross, hard, and annoying to manage business, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
now, right before my lawn guys show up, you get a text, right?
yeah.
When is, it would literally be like coming through. It'd be coming through the fog, right? In terms of these businesses, I hate looking in my backyard and go, "Oh, I guess the pool guy's here." Right? I hate that. I wish to gosh that there was some type of
He's
software that
15
allowed
minutes
them to
in.
let. And how hard is that to do? It's not hard at all. And it feels like there's all these businesses that are kind of right for this. But what's interesting is what I'm starting to understand a little bit more about you specifically is that sure, it sounds like would you be more interested in as an example, a dentist or a practitioner that really understood, all those type of as kind of the minutia of dentistry, right? And then you can kind of show them how to go get the next 5 or 3 or 2, and then now your name is on their buildings, right? Because you now own the thing, right? And you're kind of rolling it up a little bit. But it
Yeah.
feels like is that where your area of specialty is, that type of practitioner, or you'll listen to anybody, and do you have any kind of specialties?
Yeah, so I am agnostic, realistically, as a business
Okay.
owner.
Oh, okay.
But again, we do investment banking work, so I'm not buying the companies myself. I'm helping others do it, but I'm agnostic. I work with a lot of different industries. I will say some of the best clients that I work with, because I'm in that middle market, are individual, maybe 2 to 3 owners in a business. I've seen a lot of success in service-based construction, engineering, staffing, healthcare. Healthcare, though, the practitioners is a good market for us. But I've worked across the board. I've worked with a lot of different business owners because the model works no matter what industry you're in, as long as you have the right individual with the right mindset. Like I tell people all the time, my goal in life, why I do what I do, is to take someone from being a business operator to being a shareholder. When you can flip that hat, when you can sit there and say, you know what, I am the CEO of my company, but I want to be the shareholder, the president of my business. And I want to be a holding company president. I want to be the leader of my shareholders and be able to bring in more opportunity and value at that level. Like a lot of people look at their company and they think of the individual revenue they bring in or net income. I want them to be thinking in the idea of value. And that's how you really change that perspective, no matter the business owner. I want them to be thinking in that mindset of value. Because I think once you take a step away from that, that's where we sit and talk to people all the time. Everybody's excited about the idea. Everybody's excited about the model. You don't have to exit to private equity. You can exit, go public if you want to. The whole idea here is, how do you really own the model and take the step-by-step process? And that's what we try to help out with. The organic stuff that we were talking about earlier, a lot of people
Right.
do that. I'm not going to own it. I'm going to say there's tons of consultants out there that are looking at businesses, making sure that you fix them up in a way that you get the best possible multiple when you exit. Other bankers or the brokers, they're out there. I think what I'm trying to establish in a lot of ways is the idea that, yes, a year will give you enough time to sell your business, but 3 years will give you enough time to sell it at a scalable number that makes sense, that makes future sense for you as a business owner. I think that's where I look at it a little bit differently than most individuals do.
So I learned this the organic way, and it goes something like this: you create a business, and then you work in that business, and then you realize you just created a job for yourself.
Absolutely.
And then, that's right. You start going back and you do the numbers. You're like, I'm making $7 an hour because you're working like
You're
70
making
hours a
all
week.
the extra hours I'm doing too. It's
That's
so true.
exactly right. You go back into it. There was I don't know the name of the book. I think it was something along statistics. And one of the chapters talks about how the FBI had closed in and had arrested this kind of drug lord out of New York City, right? And what was different about this particular guy is he actually had an accounting degree. So for the first time in history, the federal agents were actually able to see a real balance sheet on
Oh
the
my
crack
gosh.
business, right? And they were going back and they were saying it looked back into it, and like crack dealers make $4 an hour when you look at the going to jail and getting killed and all those kind of things. But it kind of dawned when I was reading that, it dawned on me that, Jesus, I'm not making more than $9 an hour if you're working 70 hours a week, or right? There's some future payoff that you were hoping for, and I guess it's never more glaring that when your wife is like, "What are you doing? What are you doing?
Are
You're
you?
working like you're working." Yeah,
It's true. It's true. And we all work for those low numbers. I think that sometimes we
yeah.
work so hard. And it's like, again, it's like a house. You buy a house, you're paying the mortgage every month, you're investing your time mowing the lawn,
Yeah.
painting the backyard, cleaning. But at the end of the day, like when you sell it, you want to see that, hey, they really appreciate how I upkept my house and how
They
beautiful it
don't.
was. And
They don't. They don't care about square footage, and I learned that the hard way too. They only care like, oh, nice pool. That won't make you any extra money when you sell
that
this
doesn't
house,
do
right?
anything.
Nobody
It
cares.
really doesn't.
Nobody cares. They only care about square footage, and that is bloody it. I don't get if you're like, oh, I've got this incredible kitchen. Don't care. Don't care.
Yeah.
So maybe get a tiny premium. Maybe it'll sell a little quicker, but that's it. It's square footage.
It's just making it look pretty.
So
That's
great.
all it is.
That's right. So,
They're dressed.
Ron, how the hell did you get in this business? Like, what were you doing? How did you get here? Like, what led you to this kind of calling?
So it's interesting. I did talk about my dad briefly earlier. I think that was definitely a big part of it. I think growing up and watching him be an entrepreneur and try to grow his businesses, but always being a little skeptical of bringing others in to help him, really made me realize that in my time working for him, and I worked at a very young age, I don't talk about it, but I started very young, just helping out. But I really appreciated and loved the idea of entrepreneurship. And I ended up going to college thinking I was going to be a lawyer because that's what my parents always told me to do, law school, med school, whatever it was. I took the LSAT and I backed out. Feel bad for my wife. I think that she expected to be marrying a lawyer at the time. And I ended up going into nonprofits, funny enough. And I spent a couple years in nonprofits. And that's when I realized that I had a bit of a marriage between loving for-profit and business, but valuing the purposeful mission of a nonprofit and the idea of wanting to help another. And that's when I made the decision. I partnered up with my business partner to start this company. And I wanted to help business owners be able to achieve their goals. I started as management consulting. So a lot of what we started with was that organic bucket, like financial cleanups, budgeting, analysis, and then at the same time helping them with their management, assessing the business in a lot of ways, offering SOPs, processes, identifying the business as a whole and helping them grow organically. And in that process, we realized that there was a lot of value in the inorganic side too, that a lot of business owners don't realize that. And most of the business owners we talked to had no plan for an exit. It wasn't even on their mind. It wasn't even something they thought about. A lot of them just thought they were going to work till the day they died. And I think that is really commendable. I think I probably will too, but you want to make sure that you're leaving something for your family. Every single one always said, I want to leave a legacy. I want to leave something for my family. I want to take care of the people I love. So when we were doing that management consulting and I was marrying what I was doing in nonprofits and thinking about my father and what he had built, I realized that what I wanted to do was really hone in this grow to exit, really analyze this concept of within a period of 3 to 5 years, you can take what you built and exponentially grow it and exit it in a way that makes you feel good and leave something for your family and leaves a legacy for everyone. And people can still stay involved. I have plenty of businesses that a family member stays in, is still working, is still in, has some shares, whatever it might be, but it created more value. A lot of these business owners didn't have a plan for exit. And if we truly looked at their exit, it would have been nowhere near what they had hoped for. And so that's why I looked at this a little differently.
So, okay. So what's your process? Asking for a friend. What's your you take on a client, you do your song and dance, like, okay, let's do this, execute an SOW, probably MSA, and then audit. You try to go figure out what are you looking at. I'm assuming is the first step.
Yeah. I always say that I take on the organic side, there's the 3 phases. It's always financial first, then operations, then marketing and sales. A lot of people like to do it backwards. Like, oh, I got to increase my sales and marketing. Then I'll figure out my operations. And then I hope I made some money. You look at a business in the complete opposite way. We think the financials is the bloodline of the business. We understand where were you losing? Where were you gaining? What's going on in your numbers? Most business owners, even in the middle market, don't have up-to-date financials. So we jump in there first. From there, we look at their operations. We look at key management teams, services, products, processes, systems that you're utilizing. We're really diving into auditing that side of your business and offering some advice and insight there. And then the last phase is looking at their marketing and sales. Where is additional revenue coming from? How reoccurring is it? What's new opportunities? Because you're going to want to sell this to future partners as well. Like, what's an upside in growth? After we do that and we implement some of those elements of change, then our team goes into, if the client is open to it, the next phase, which is search. We start looking for companies on and off market that could be possible targets for our clients. We're having conversations with tons of business owners.
Acquisition clients. Acquisition.
Yes, exactly. Acquisition targets. Who would you potentially match with? We're looking at unique industries, synergies, similar industries, trying to find the unique opportunity that'll be a perfect buy and a tuck in for their company. And then from there, we move into accomplishing that within a period of at least 6 months to a year. Usually, if the company wants, we're looking for leverage buyout situations where we're going to get debt to purchase the business so they don't have to outlay too much cash. We're trying to structure the deal very unique where the current owners are still involved, whether it's earnouts or other structures. And then we do this at least a wash and repeat over a period of 3 years. Usually you can get about 3 to 4 businesses. You scale your presence, and then we start looking for that next phase of exit, especially if we're going to do a 2-phased exit.
So it really is good. You really are that's your business plan. That's literally what you do. Is you are let me understand what we have. Let me understand what resources we have to work with, whether it's going to be through debt or cash or whatever. We then go buy a strategic partner or a business, right? That maybe aligns with some of the areas we're missing or whatever. And now you're not 3x, you're 7x.
Exactly. So again, I do these services independently. So I have people who come to me and ask me for the organic and the management consulting side. I have people who come to me and ask me to source them capital and find them funding for their business. I have people that come to me and ask me just for the M&A advising and acquiring these businesses or merging. But in a lot of cases, my best relationships are those that really look at the holistic approach and can kind of see the benchmarks in their own business, that future growth. And I've gone to people where they've come to me and they said, listen, I want to sell my business. I want to be on the market in a month. I'll do it. I just don't love it. I think that at the end of the day, they're not getting the best value. That's like when you buy a house and you want to put it right back on the market within a month. They call it dressing a pig. Like you're painting in the cheapest things, you're slapping on the cheapest stuff you can just to sell it as quick as you can. I hate the term. And I also hate the process. I wish that people would give more time. Like if you're going to sell your business one day, at least give someone 6 months, then try to build out 2 years.
Okay, so do you know when? Because it sounds like there was something happen along your line, along your journey, where you saw this opportunity, where this exact thing, grow to exit. Do you have a story that backs this up? Is there you're like you could have zigged and zagged? You're like, oh my god, we 7x the shit out of this. Like, any you have a story on that?
Yes, yeah. I have a couple times where it happens, but there was one specifically. It was a moving company that I got connected with, and they were early on. They had developed the business, but they wanted to exit it. They were already, which was a blessing. They had the mindset of it, and I think they set the stage for us to understand it. And then in that process, we started with the organic, and the software was out of date. It was like what you were saying, like no one was calling before they showed up. Paperwork was on a clipboard. It was so outdated. Right. And we helped them reestablish that. And very quickly, we realized that there was a turning point where if they bought other moving companies similar to this, they could do the same. And they could increase the margin greatly and increase the cost of the service because of the way the service was, the customer service experience. And as soon as we saw that, it was like a no-brainer that, hey, if we bought this company for this price, we knew that within a year we could turn it into this. We knew it. We'd seen it. We'd got the science down and we executed on it. And that allowed for our first couple phase processes. And I think that's where most business owners have that aha moment too. Like I got it in that moment when I saw it. And that's when I was like, all right, this is where we got to be. This is our focus. This is our energy, because there is a lot of people who don't realize that this is affecting them. But I also have seen a lot of other business owners that even when I come to them now with an initial conversation, you look at their company and we talk about what they're doing today, a lot of them have that aha moment. A lot of them say, I've always wanted to do these things. I've been trying to do them for the longest time, but I'm busy working my business. And I didn't realize that not only is it going to make my business better today, but it'll make my business more valuable tomorrow. And I think that's where a lot of people take a step back and realize, man, I really should approach this. And that's where I felt it. I felt like, hey, I can help this guy increase revenue today. I can help this guy increase bottom line today. But I want him to see that value that he's gaining for tomorrow. Like what's going to come? And I think that's where we saw the best type of return on our investment. And that's where I got the light bulb moment, was with that moving company. And we've done it now with engineering business. We've done it in the healthcare space. We've done it with a few different companies. I build long-term relationships. It's definitely not short-term for me. And I hope my goal in life is I know that when I teach this stuff, it's not that I'm going to get a client tomorrow whatsoever when I educate about this stuff. It's that I know that when I'm talking about it today, someone might at least write down what their exit strategy is in 4 years from now. So that they call me in a year from now. That's okay. I don't mind getting a call in a year from now. I just want them to not wait 6 months before they want to sell their business. That's my goal.
Ron, we are out of time. I could sit here and do this for another hour. It was really really lovely meeting you, and I have a feeling we'll be talking to each other very soon.
Definitely. I appreciate it, Scott. Thank you for having me on the show. I really, really appreciate it.